I am Brad Keelor. She is Lori Simpson. Coming up next on Director's Cut, you're going to find out what you should avoid the next time you're a tourist in San Francisco.
Once again, I find myself with my friends, dancing the night away, it's like the party never ends. Then again, we don't want it to stop, cause tonight's the night, it goes sweatbox, laser beam flashing.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Director's Cut. My name is Brad Keelor. I'm the director of the Geo-Institute, and that is why we call this show Director's Cut. Every single week, but this week, every day, 4 days, because it is our annual Labor Day Director's Cut Extravaganza. Again, 4 episodes in 4 days. We bring you a different GI member every day. If you don't know anything about the Geo-Institute, after you watch this today, you should walk over, run, type, whatever, to geoinstitute.org, and there you will find out many things about our august institution, including that we have about 12,000 members, most of whom are geotechnical engineers and or geologists, and that we are part of the American Society of Civil Engineers. And if you like what you see today, and I get very few complaints of people who don't like what they see, so please be in that other camp and click like, subscribe, and get notifications, and we will let you know every time we post something to the YouTube channel. Joining us from the opposite coast of America, in San Francisco, where she is a managing principal at Langan, it is Lori Simpson. Lori, welcome. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brad.
I like to think that it's a little bit of a special honor to be one of the Labor Day episodes. I don't know that it actually is, but I like to think that. And so that's a little feather in your cap there. We have 10 questions today, the same as we do every week, and 2 of those are the same as they are every week. We must begin with one of those. Describe your job in 45 seconds.
Well, first and foremost, I'm a consulting geotechnical engineer in the San Francisco Bay Area, where I've been practicing for more than 35 years. I also practice up in the Pacific Northwest, mostly in the Seattle area. With Langan, I am on our executive committee. I'm also on our board of managers, so I hold a corporate role as well. I lead our Bay Area practice and our geotechnical group. And so, I'm also, well, I guess that's not part of my job, but I'm also on the executive committee of the Deep Foundations Institute. So
we were going to work that in at some point. So
great.
Now we'll come back to it. I do want to ask, though, the Bay Area is so diverse geologically. And so, of course, for geotechnical projects, that's no different. When you come out to the East Coast, is there anything out here that you're just like, huh? That you don't get or don't want to get because you've spent your whole career out there?
Well, I mean, I don't know. East Coast is rather large, like my state.
We'll go with the Northeast then. We'll go Northeast. How about that?
I mean, I think that it does feel like there's a lack of some of the challenges that we face here, notably earthquakes. So, some of the issues that we deal with, like ground shaking and fault rupture, liquefaction, seismic densification, are fairly lacking in the Northeast when you're looking at a typical site.
Except that one little sliver that goes from like Montreal to Lake Champlain or whatever, and then I guess Charleston, I guess, but that's about it, right? So the next question was inspired by me getting asked too many questions one day and answering the same one over and over again. So Lori, this is where we get into the fun questions. What question or questions do you feel like you get asked the most?
I think it's evolved over time, but when I was a staff engineer and out drilling, I would always be asked if we were drilling for oil.
I mean, that's, but it does get annoying, right?
Yeah.
when I was a lobbyist, as I mentioned before, the first one would always be whether I was a lobbyist for oil or tobacco, as if those were the only two options in the world.
Right.
And I would explain to people that you are probably a member of an organization that does lobbying on your behalf, and so on and so on. So what is your stock answer to those who want to know if you're drilling for oil?
Well, being a nerd, I tried to educate them on geotechnical engineering and what we were doing. I don't think it went very far, and the people would just glaze over and walk away.
That's also amusing because in your career, have you done a lot of drilling in areas where there would be any oil?
No, right. I mean, that's why it felt like a silly question because, we're in the middle of downtown San Francisco and like, this is not an oil producing city. So,
No, I would imagine.
so.
The third question that we ask is always the research or practice question, and we're going to talk about a cool project today. And as soon as you said the Giants, we got off on a whole baseball discussion. I'm sorry, I will suck anybody in and it will go crazy. And I even kind of have, it's not black, but I've got the Giants orange today a little bit. We're going to talk about the Mission Rock project, and the Giants were one of the partners on this. The reason this is notable, what you're going to get to, is something we haven't talked about in a while on the show, and that's sea level rise. So can you walk us through the projects start to finish and what was so unique about it?
Sure. So Mission Rock is a 28-acre site in San Francisco. It's right across the water from the Giants ballpark, thus their interest. And they partnered with Tishman Speyer, the developer, to develop a new multi-use neighborhood in San Francisco. Eventually, there will be, I think, about 12 buildings built. There'll be some public parks. And so we worked on phase one, which included 4 new buildings. And then we also worked on the China Basin Park, which is a park now right on the waterfront, right across from the Giants ballpark. What was unique about this project was that the developers were committed to developing this project that would be resilient for sea level rise. So the site, it's right on the water, right at the San Francisco Bay. It's a very low, flat site. And in order to protect against sea level rise, it needed to be raised. It was about 55 inches. So the site is a former bay that was reclaimed 100 years ago, more than actually 100 years ago now. And so there's a lot of compressible weak clay underneath the site. It's what we call bay mud. And so if you're going to raise the site, you're going to get a lot of settlement. So raising 55 inches, I don't remember exactly, but we were predicting, let's just say like 3.5 feet of settlement. So that doesn't really work when you're trying to raise the site and keep it high, as well as, have buildings that will be pile supported. They're not going to settle. And now your ground is going to settle many feet next to it. That's not going to work. So it was really a great technical challenge to develop the solution to raise the site, eliminate the potential for settlement, and create this new neighborhood that was going to be resilient now and in the future for sea level rise, as well as for earthquakes. We do have a liquefaction issue at the site as well, so there were a lot of things going on that needed to be solved.
Can you talk a little bit? Every year at Geo-Congress, I hope that people notice there are always a couple presentations on bay mud. Can you give a quick primer on this? And I guess it's going to eventually go back to the liquefaction conversation, but what makes it so unique?
I mean, it's weak. Essentially, it's only as strong as the overburden above it. So it increases in strength with depth, but, at its surface, it could have zero strength if there's no overburden that has, provided any consolidation of it. So it's very weak. It's let's just say its compression index is about usually typically 0.3. So, super compressible and very weak. So, you're not going to get your foundations to bear in it. You're not going to be able to raise grades. You'll get too much settlement. It doesn't provide a lot of good lateral capacity. So, and it's high plasticity clay. It's, very gushy.
That's awesome. That was a good, quick explanation there. And so for all of our viewers, when you go to Geo-Congress 26 and you're out in Salt Lake and you see that paper on the program that uses those words, Bay Mud, now you're going to know what you're getting into before you show up in that session room. Back to the fun questions here. This is the bread and butter of Director's Cut. And so we got to hit people hard with some of these fun ones.
I'm ready.
So Lori, what's the most prized piece of art you own? And we're not limiting it to just a painting or a wall hanging or whatever. It can be music, fine art, or anything that we would consider art.
So I would say it's my ukulele. I just started playing ukulele a couple years ago, just for fun. We had given my younger child a ukulele when they were in middle school. And it was a cheap ukulele. And at one point when they were moving out of the house, they were going to give it up. And I said, just leave it. I might pick it up. So a couple years ago, I picked it up. YouTube is very helpful. I also took some lessons and just really fell in love with playing the ukulele. So when my husband were in Hawaii last fall, my husband was very encouraging to buy a new, very fine ukulele. So I bought a handmade ukulele in Hawaii, and it's really beautiful and it sounds great. So not that I sound great. I'm not a great player, but
you did the whole thing where you go into one of the shops there. And this was one of the fascinating things to me about Hawaii is there are so many ukulele shops.
Yeah.
So you went in and did the whole thing where you pick it out and everything. What was that process like?
Well, at first it's a little overwhelming because there's just like ukuleles all over the wall.
Yeah.
I mean, first there's like 4 different sizes of ukuleles, but I already knew what size I wanted, so that was helpful. And then they're made of all different types of wood, and that affects the sound. So you really have to play a lot of them. And then they have different inlays, so different, things that make them beautiful. So it's actually pretty exhausting because if you really want to buy a ukulele that you love, you really have to play a lot of them, and you got to go back and forth. And, does this wood sound better to me, or does this wood sound better? And, some are more mellow, some are so sharp, some are, they each have different sounds. And then you're like, after a while, you're just like, I can't hear the difference. And you kind of have to walk away and have a cup of coffee or a cocktail and then come back and make your decision.
So I feel like we could do a whole hour on ukuleles here,
Yeah.
But I'll make this my last follow-up question for this one. There's obviously music that was written for ukulele, and then there's stuff that you just learn to play on the 4 strings, right? What is the most, we'll call it, un-ukulele song that you have played on your instrument?
Okay, so yes, mostly I do not play Hawaiian music. Mostly I play the music that I, enjoy listening to, and I'll just hear a song and go, oh, I wonder if I could play that on the ukulele. Okay, so probably the most un-ukulele song would be Painted Black by the Rolling Stones.
Oh, that is fantastic. I feel like we need a video of this, but then you think about it and you think about the riff in that song and you could do it. Oh, that's great. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's fun.
So we go from the most prized piece of art. Well, I think this is something prized too, but the way I phrased this question was, what's the tackiest thing in your office that you'll never get rid of, but you've got a great story for us, and I don't know if this object is tacky at all. So let's see it.
Okay. So here it is. And here's the back.
Soil is not a dirty word for anybody who couldn't see
we
that.
know
That
this.
is fantastic.
So one of my friends from my freshman dorm in college, his father was a geotechnical engineer and owned his own firm in Southern California. And when I decided to become a geotechnical engineer, which was around my senior year in college, he immediately sent this gift to me. And so I've had it since I graduated from college, and it's always been in my office since I started working.
And it had a clock in it. The
Right,
clock
yeah.
is no longer functional, if anybody's
No,
wondering. And this is it
no.
metal or plastic?
This is metal. It's got some real heft
Wow,
to it. Yeah. This is like the real deal. Yeah.
that is amazing. So when you switch jobs or you move offices, you have to put everything in a box and you have to make a
Mhm.
conscious decision that I'm going to take this and then I'm going to put this out when I get to the new place. So that has gone
That's
with
right.
you everywhere you've gone.
It has. It has.
That's excellent. I love that. And there's no chance I mean, at some point, it's never not going to make the cut, right? It just becomes the essential thing
Oh,
that
it
you
is.
have.
Right. Right. Absolutely. It will
Oh, I
always be
love
here.
that. So the other question that we ask everybody when they come on the show is to tell their ASCE history. So how did you first get involved in ASCE and GI?
So when I started working in San Francisco, there was a really good younger member forum group in San Francisco with ASCE. And, it wasn't specific to geotechnical engineering, but was, the younger member forum. They had great meetings every week, a dinner meeting. They had good speakers. It wasn't always about civil engineering. Sometimes it was about money management. That's probably where I learned about what a 401k was. Um, and it was just a great community. And then there also developed I think it was probably called the San Francisco Geotechnical Society. I don't actually remember the name, but it was before the Geo-Institute
Mhm.
existed. Um, and so it's a little more independent. And then when the Geo-Institute started, it took a little while, but finally they joined the Geo-Institute. But yeah, it's always been a great community of geotechnical engineers and geologists in the Bay Area. And we have regular meetings, really good content, lots of, talks about projects and such. So it's always been a good organization to be part of.
I think your point about the younger member forum is excellent, though, because that is still largely true of a lot of the groups across the country. And GI has many specific geotech younger member groups now. And it's the same kind of thing where there's a lot more networking, a lot more focus on non-technical topics, just to kind of help you in life.
Sure.
And that so for our viewers, this is where we make the pitch every time, right? And so if you're a younger member out there, definitely look up the younger member forum in your city. I can pretty much guarantee there's something happening. And then we can also help you with that at GI as well. If you're looking for a younger member group in your area, we will point you in the right direction. So we mentioned at the top we were going to talk a little about DFI later on. I think this is probably the place we do it, right?
Sure.
DFI, we love them. We hope they love us. You are very active in DFI in a special way now. So talk a little bit about that.
Sure. I've been on the board of trustees for a number of years, and now for the past just about 3 years, I've been on the executive committee. So I was the secretary, and now I'm the treasurer. And in a few years, I will be the president of DFI. So I'm looking forward to that.
Of course. I mean, and this is for those people out there who think to themselves, well, I'll never be on the DFI board or the GI board or even my chapter board. Just look for the right opportunity. It's not like there's a hard and fast set of criteria that you have to meet. You don't have to be a certain age. I mean, what do you think your message is, Lori, for somebody who even has that in the back of their head that they might want to do it someday?
I think that the reason to do it is because you believe in the mission, and so you get involved. You see that there's this great community of people who are all working in the same direction, working to promote our industry, profession. And so you get involved. And I think the place to get involved is at the committee level. There's so many committees, and that's, true of the Geo-Institute, it's true of DFI. Find the committee that really speaks to you, because this is going to be your volunteer time. So this is going to be something you're going to want to do. So you pick the committee, get involved, do things. And then, you build that community at that level, and then it just keeps growing. It's like a snowball. Literally, it just grows and grows from there, what you do with your involvement and the community that you build there. And then, you find these opportunities that come up beyond the committee level.
Fantastic ringing endorsement for everybody to get involved. And of course, I always tell people, yes, we have an opportunity for you. If you're interested, we will find a way for you to serve. So do not hesitate. Another question I had to put in your list, Lori, was about working with tech companies and research institutions. I think, there are a couple parts of the country. Bay Area is one of them. Out here in Northern Virginia is another, where people joke you can go 30 miles just skipping on the top of data centers here. Those projects are a little bit different. And you've had the experience of working on many of these with tech companies. So what's different for you in your experience about working on a project for a tech company or a research institution?
Yeah, it's interesting because, they're not developers. They're not always in the business of building buildings. They're in the business of doing what they do. And one thing that you find is they don't always have the realistic expectation of timing on things. So schedules can be a lot tighter when you're working with these groups. They want what they want, and they want it now. But also, they know that this isn't what they do. So they very much appreciate their consultant team, their design team, and they do place a lot of trust and faith in you. And I really appreciate that. They definitely see me as the expert in, the piece that I'm involved in, and, trust that we're doing the best job for them.
Well, that's I wouldn't have thought that at all, but that is excellent. Is there any project that you want to give a shout out to quickly that's in the tech arena that you worked on?
Wow.
Didn't see that one coming. Sorry about that.
All right. I mean, I think I'll do a broader answer.
Sure.
I have worked pretty extensively on life sciences projects for a particular life sciences developer, and it's been really great being able to just work on those kinds of projects. They do have some specific needs that might be different from, I don't know, regular building, and that's been great to just kind of be able to keep working on those throughout the Bay Area.
We're going to talk a little bit more about the Bay Area. Now, we kind of went hard because we haven't had anybody on to talk about San Francisco specifically in a long time. Before we started the interview, you said you've spent all but 3 years of your life in the Bay Area. And so I wanted to know what identifies you as a Bay Area lifer, both for you and if somebody met you, how would they know?
Well, I don't know if they would pick up on this subtlety, but our regional transportation system, I call it BART, not the BART. So that's how I identify people who are not from here, is they tend to call it the BART, yet locals call it just BART. Also, our freeways, we refer to them just by their number with no the or I. So it's 280, 80, 101, that's it. So I know those are subtle distinctions, but I pick up on it when people aren't from here.
And every place has to have those subtle distinctions. The one that I thought of immediately when you said BART versus the BART is here, National Airport. If you've been here a long time, no one calls it Reagan. That's if you've moved here more recently, if you're from out of town. And the other one is our Beltway, we call it the Beltway or 495, never the 495, or I'm trying to think Capital Beltway sometimes, and I'm like, you have to think about it for a minute because there's the Beltway and the Baltimore Beltway, and those are the distinctions. So I get it. And for those of you watching, just take notes. Learn this when you visit. You'll sound a little bit more like a local. And this next question is, it's the one we teased at the beginning, and we're going to help you feel even more like a local viewers when you go out to San Francisco and to the Bay Area. Lori, what should tourists absolutely, under all circumstances, avoid in San Francisco?
You need to avoid forgetting your jacket.
Oh, wow.
People think I'm going to California, the land of sunshine. Well, San Francisco is rather foggy and chilly much of the year, so don't forget your jacket. That's how we spot really the tourists, is those who come in June and July and they're wearing shorts and tank tops and they're freezing.
I like that a lot. I mean, especially because when I wrote that question, I thought to myself, oh, nobody really wants to say, don't come to my town and go to these things, right? So that's very well done. The first time I went to San Francisco in the summer, I looked ahead at the weather. I didn't believe it. I thought there's no way it's good. I mean, this was like the end of July, beginning of August, and it was going to be like 64 degrees or something.
Yeah, and that's a warm day in San Francisco.
And then we went to an A's game that night in Oakland, and it was like 85 degrees at the first pitch. Yeah. And I'm thinking, this is a little bit mind-bending. There's not an elevation thing. Like it, So if you flip that around, when people come to town, what are the top 3 things that you tell them to see when they're in San Francisco?
Oh my gosh, you didn't prep me for this.
That's because you got to go with the gut, Lori, and go with the heart.
I know. Okay, well, I mean, you can walk across the Golden Gate Bridge, and I highly recommend that. I'm not sure everyone knows you can actually walk across it. I think that's a fantastic thing to do. I also recommend Alcatraz. It's really, truly amazing, a really great historical tour. And you get to take a boat there. So you're, on a boat in the San Francisco Bay. I also think just walking around different neighborhoods of the city, pick a neighborhood and then just go walk around and, hit the coffee shop, hit the, bar, the bookstores, the restaurants, and just get the flavor of the neighborhoods. I think that they're all distinct and unique and super fun. And I'll just do a plug for one of the newer neighborhoods in San Francisco, which is right where the Mission Rock development is. It's Mission Bay. So that's been redeveloped over the last 25 years. And there's this really fun area where it's called Spark Social. And there's all these different food trucks laid out with lots of areas to sit. And then there's this little mini golf place that has all iconic San Francisco locations in it. And it's just a really fun thing to do that probably doesn't top the list of tourist things to do, but is a good insider thing.
That is amazing. And that's exactly where we needed to go with that. And anytime you can work landmarks into a mini golf course.
Yeah.
2 thumbs up from me. Final question in your interview. You did an episode of Morgan's Mentors for the DFI podcast network, which I think it's actually called that. I'm not bigging them up anymore. I love that, though, that it's a network. Morgan's Mentors was all about mentoring, as the name suggests, and we haven't talked about that in a while on the show. So I wanted to close for you with a big, broad mentoring question. And that's, how has it changed for you? How has mentoring changed for you as you've progressed in your career? And the kind of immediate follow-up to that is, how do you make sure, even when you're in a more senior position, that you're still both a mentor and a mentee?
I think that, always being a mentor is just always caring about people's careers, right? So if you care about their career development, you're always looking out for helping them out, teaching them. And I think what's important is teaching them the why. You can teach them the what all you want. But I'm not sure that it will really land until they understand the why. And I think that that is really helpful when you come at it from that point of view, when you're, mentoring other folks and trying to help them out in their career. With regard to being a mentee, I am always watching other people and how they handle a situation, how they do something. And, so people don't realize how much I'm watching and taking notes and, the good and the bad, right? There are things that I watch other people do and go, okay, I wouldn't do that way. I think there's another way to do it. And honestly, I might not have come up with the other way to do it until I see someone do it a way that I'm like, oh, okay, now I see, I think there's another way to do this, but also obviously the good, right? I'm always admiring how people handle different situations, and I'm taking notes to just like, okay, next time I'm going to try to remember those little tips. But yeah, I am watching everyone and always paying attention to how people do things.
When you did Morgan's show, I mean, that was talking for, I can't even remember how long the episodes are, but they're at least a half hour long talking about mentoring. Was there anything that came up in that interview that surprised you that maybe you hadn't thought about in the past, and it impacted either the way you're mentoring someone or people and the way that you go about? I love that you study everybody and you get all these habits down. It's almost like being an athlete, right? Was there anything new that came up because of that experience getting interviewed by him?
Oh gosh.
This is why Director's Cut,
yeah.
Gets all the ratings. We ask the hard-hitting questions.
I don't remember a specific example, but I do remember thinking, wow, how am I going to talk about mentoring for this long? And, like this conversation, it just flowed, and so much comes from it that it was helpful for me and hopefully those listening. But yeah, I don't have a specific example.
Good enough. Lori, you survived all 10 questions and all the follow-ups, and we tell everybody that, everybody makes it, but it's still an achievement to be here at the end. For all of our viewers out there, if you liked what you saw, and you probably did because you're here at the end, click like, subscribe, and get notifications. And yes, of course, we'll let you know every time we post something to the YouTube channel. Lori, thank you. You walked us through my favorite thing. My favorite thing was the little dozer clock. That was great. But we got through so many things today. So thanks for doing this, and I hope it was fun.
It was. Yeah, I had a great time. Thanks for having me.
And this is part of our Labor Day Director's Cut Extravaganza, 4 episodes in 4 days. You're now halfway there if you've made it through both yesterday's and today's. We've got 2 more coming up for you tomorrow and Friday. You'll want to come back for those, and then we'll go back to our regular time slot on Wednesday mornings after that. So again, for everybody out there, thanks for sticking with us to the end, and we will see you tomorrow with another brand new episode of Director's Cut.